It's about taking away the stigma in and around this māwiwitanga that we're talking about, in and around this ngārara. E harai te mea, he kaupapa ngāwari tēne, he kaupapa ua mo tātou whānau, because it affects a lot of us. It affects all those, and we all know who they are. And one of the biggest things I think we do as whānau is we keep quiet about it, and we're not actually encouraging our whānau to seek help in making those, or having those hard conversations. And for me personally, it's a really hard topic or conversation to bring up. How do you even bring up, having their kōrero, or what's the first step?
Yeah, so as a health promoter, I love to engage with our whānau in the communities and with all peoples about gambling harm, right? But what's really important in the engagement is creating a safe space where our whānau don't feel like they're being judged, because one, it's not their fault because of how the system is designed, but also because we don't want to be judging anybody, for their gambling. And so in creating that safe space enables the person to share, about the experiences with gambling harm. But quite often, that whakamā, the stigma is just too overwhelming for our whānau to be open about it. So what we want to encourage our whānau to do is to speak up and to be comfortable in the uncomfortable, and to be comfortable to, address the elephant in the room, to be comfortable to examine and to be reflective and to be critical of our own participation in gambling and what that looks like in our whānau whare, across our whānau, because, we know at least one person, whether, through whakapapa or just through relationships, that has had, significant gambling harm. And so just through engaging in wānanga and through being open about mental health and addictions, it enables us to release and to, to just get rid of it. Let's stop carrying, all the trauma and the impacts that, life has on us, and let's just be open, and let's just find spaces and ways to free ourselves, to liberate our minds from carrying the shame and the guilt and the stigma that comes with mental health, addictions, and particularly gambling harm.
And that's the thing, that's the stigma and I guess the shame that a lot of whānau, and I'm sure many of us have carried shame before, and when you're stacking things up in terms of whether there's little lies or big lies, the compound of those, what I have seen or noticed is that the shame that we carry is often because there's a detachment from the self that our whānau see us to be. And so we get lost within who we are and who we know ourselves to be based on how our whānau see us. And so the honesty is the acknowledgement that the way you see me now is going to be different. It's going to be shaped differently. So because I've done wrong by you, that's going to affect the relationship. Well, that's the fear. And so through the honesty and going into that challenge or of acceptance, I think is just the difficulty in the short term. But in terms of what that means moving forward is going to be a significant impact in terms of the healthy way to approach moving through this. And for many of us, I'm sure when we reach a level of discomfort, we would rather resist that. And a terminology or concept that I've heard that really stood out to me from Tony Robbins was we return back to our emotional home. And so if we feel uncomfortable, if we feel at unease, our body has a chemical reaction and it makes us want to sort of resort back to what is comfortable, and that emotional home could be suffering, that emotional home could be anger, that emotional home could be sadness. So despite the destructive nature of it, if it's comfortable to us, we would resort to being in that space. And so how can we upgrade our emotional home? How can we have more richer whakaaro? Because the chase of the possibility of either getting higher winds, how can we move their whakaaro towards something around the identity part of self? So we work on the internal space rather than getting this external instant gratification to put us up to a taumata that really just inflates the image of the self rather than the core essence of the self. And he huarahi nui tērā, right? I know how big that pathway is, and e tika o kōrero, he aha tēnei te mea ngāwari, he mea taumaha, but these are just potential pathways that could bring more ora and wellness when we think about everyone is influential, everyone is a ripple of change, whether that's a ripple of positive change or a ripple of negative change, kei roto i a koe. And so our decisions really impact people closest to us and also people beyond that. And coming back to your whakaaro, I guess around the support networks is how do we create safe space? Because one, we have this kōrero around just talk out, just talk kia kōrero, but that's like step 10 for some of our whānau when we're drowning in so much shame. And so how can we actually build capacity to hold space? And that's for whānau. How can we just sit next to our whānau who may be going through something challenging and just sit and hold and sit in that discomfort, knowing that you want to say something, knowing that you might not want to be there, but you having the strength to be able to do so, how can we just hold and tatari and just be there? And I think those are the practical tools that also welcome discomfort. However, if we can look at the person beneath the habit, then I think that welcomes, the courage to be able to do something. And then you model it. You model it around, being able to provide that for them, that encourages them to do that for other people who are affected, I suppose.
I think that brings up a good point. Nawe o kōrero. And one of the biggest things that you just spoke about really is whakamā. Ei hea te nei ma te whakamā. Hea te whakamā. Nau pēr tonu, nau pēr tērā kōrero e te hawa ke.
Tēnei te kōrero o te whakamā. Kine nei tētahi whakamā rama mo tana whakapapa. The origins of whakamā, according to our kōrero tuku iho from our narratives, actually come from a transgression committed by one of the Yatsua. Tāne nui ara ni tāne mahuta, great tāne o te